like that.
So, let's finish it. What did I tell you to do yesterday? Where did I tell you to start?
From the inside.
The inside of the triangle. I want you to look on the inside first. So we're looking on the inside. So look at the colors. Which matching color has numbers on both colors? So if I look at purple, my purple right here, do I have something in both purples?
No.
So I have a 42 here, but I have nothing here. So I can't work with that. I've got to have something on the inside of the same color. So if I go to green, I have a 70 here, but I have nothing here. Can't work with it. So then that leaves me with orange. So if I work with orange, I've got something on this orange, and I've also got something on this orange. That's what I'm looking for. I need the same color with something on both. Now simply make an equation. So, what would that equation be? 2x plus 6 equals 68. So write down that equation. You have to hang on a second. So 2x plus 6 equals 68. And I'm going to do that every time. Every time I do one of these, I'm going to start on the inside. I'm going to find the two matching colors, and I'm going to write my equation. Now solve it. So what am I going to do to solve it? I'm going to subtract 6. Because remember, you have to do the opposite. Since it says add 6, I subtract 6. What is that going to leave me with?
62.
It's going to leave me with 62. Now, since they are side by side, that's multiplication. So I do what to get rid of it? I divide by 2.
31.
Well, we weren't quite ready for that, but thank you.
You're welcome.
X equals 31. He better be doing his work, since this was his homework last night.
I got it right down.
Okay, you better have it written down. Do you need to move up front with me?
Yes, you do.
Because if I walk back there and it's not written down, that means you just lied to me. So did you just lie? Because you know it's not going to take me about 5 seconds to walk back there.
I'm just like, I'm like,
Right.
I like that she.
Now, we need to find Y. Where is Y?
Up there.
Well, I know it's up there.
right there.
It's on the outside.
Yeah.
We've already taken care of the inside. We now need to look on the outside. So if I look at the outside, Y is right here. It's between green and purple. What does that match up with over here?
19.
Between green and purple, it does match up with 19. You have to match it up with the exact same colors on both triangles. So if it's between green and purple, you have to match it up with green and purple. You can't go over here and pick orange and green. You have to use the exact same colors it matches up with over here. Then again, make an equation. So what's this equation going to say?
X plus 3y.
X plus 3y equals 19. The first half of your problem comes from over here. X plus 3y. What it equals comes from over here. So x plus 3y equals 19. Now, just like we did the first problem, we need to solve it. Now, what did we figure out yesterday that we can do before we start solving? We can plug in. We can substitute. Because what do we already know?
X is 30.
We already know x. So now we want to substitute this 31 in here where X is. So when you find the first answer, you want to plug it in to your second problem. That's going to help you solve it. So now it becomes 31 plus 3y equals 19. So, what are we going to do?
Minus
Subtract it.
31.
Subtract
I don't know.
19.
We got to subtract 31, because remember, we don't want to touch the y yet. So we've got to get rid of the 31. So now we have 3y equals what when we subtract? What?
Negative 12.
Negative 12, that is correct.
And then you want to divide by.
Then you want to divide by 3,
Oh,
And y equals.
and y equals
Negative 4.
negative 4.
Right, you- I think that's all. Why would I remember?
So, you're going to do the same thing every time. So the first thing you need to do is color your triangles so you can find out your matching pieces. If you can't match them, you cannot set them up correctly.
I had 7 instead of 19. But that's my fault.
You had it matched up with what?
17.
Oh, so you took it from the inside. You can't take one from the inside and match it up with the outside. Yeah, so you gotta be careful. Okay, any questions about that first one?
Oh, man.
So whether you were here yesterday or you were not, this is all we did over and over and over and over again yesterday. So now, number 2. Now this is the last one I'm gonna do. So if you did not do yours, you need to finish it up after this one, because I am not gonna work every one of these out for you. And all you have is copy them down and then give me the answer. It's not gonna work that way. So, one more time. Let's mark our angles. Brian, right. Or I'm gonna make you stand up.
Oh, look
As you know I will.
already.
I'll just go ahead and give me a couple while I'm standing here. So, what angles will match up together? Okay, the first one in each line says that I've got S matched with V. So when you draw these, you should be putting the same color on angle S that you put on angle V. Okay, so I've got one here, and I've got one here. So those two are already matched up. Now, what is the next one? T. T came second, and so did W. So that means I'm going to put the same mark on T that I put on W. And then the last one that matches up is U with X. So that means U and X. So here are all my matching pieces.
Green.
So, after you've drawn it, after you've got everything there, what do we look for?
Inside.
The inside. So which one of the colors has something on both of them?
green.
Green. Green is the only one that has something on both. The other two have something on one, but not on both. So, how is that equation going to be set up then?
5y is
5y divided by
75.
5y equals 7.
Okay, Okay, just set them equal. What you get from one equals the other one. So 5y is gonna equal 75. So 5y equals 75. There was no plus or minus on this one. Just simply 5y equals 75. Now, since there's no addition or subtraction, the only thing I can do is divide. So if I divide by 5,
You get 15.
y is going to equal 15. So I've got one answer. So the inside should be the first place you always go. Now, it may have and subtract, it may not. It just depends on what they give you. Now, where is x?
On the outside.
X is on the outside between what two colors?
Green and purple.
Between green and purple. So it's right here between green and purple. So this is going to be the first part of your equation. And it's going to be set equal to what?
52.
The other part, which is between green and purple, which is 52.1. So 3y plus 4x is going to equal 52.1. So I've got my second equation. So 3y plus 4x equals 52.1. So one triangle is going to equal the other triangle. Now, where do we go?
You want to replace that y with the 50.
I want to substitute in. I already know part of it. I know that y is 15 already. So substitute it in. So instead of it being 3y, it's going to be what?
3 times.
3 times 15. So I took out y, put in my 15. What is 3 times 15? 45. So now, just like before, I cannot touch x. I cannot touch x at all. So what is it I need to get rid of? 45. You cannot touch x or anything with the x until you get rid of the other pieces. So you've got to get rid of 45. How do I get rid of it? Subtract x. So subtract 45.
And you get 7.1.
And I have 4x equals 7.1.
1.775.
So again, now I can divide both sides by 4. And I end up with x equals what? 1.775. They didn't ask you to round, they didn't ask you to do anything because it comes out as an exact answer. It's not a big long repeating decimal. So just write it down as 1.775. So, any questions? So I'm not changing anything that I do from one problem to the next. It's just one problem I'm going to be solving for x first, the next one I'm solving for y first. It just depends which one's on the inside. Now, for those of you who actually solved yours last night, I will tell you that on number 3, y should be 27, and x should have been 5.16, I believe.
Yes.
So if you solve those, I believe that's the two that you should have gotten. Now, again, you're not just gonna write down those two and give them back to me. You better have the work to back it up like we just did.
Huh? What's that?
What is the number 4?
I'm fixing to give you. Now, number 4, same thing. Number 4, y should be 26,
Okay.
and x, now I believe x on this one was a big long decimal, so I rounded it to 3.87. Because I believe it was 3.8666666 so I rounded it to 3.87.
I don't understand what I did wrong.
Well, these
I got 22 and 52. That's my answer. Y was equal to 22 and then x was equal to 52. And on all the other ones I had to write it.
On number 4, you should have had,
I wrote it.
you should have had 2y minus 4 equal to 48. Did you have that?
I have.
That's your equation. Did you have that?
I have
I'm trying to find my paper.
2y minus 4.
Hang on, we are not talking. I'm not sure why some of us are turned around talking and everything. Should have been 2y minus 4 equals 48 was the original one you saw. So then you added 4 and divided by 2,
Yep.
and you should have got y equals 26.
I'm gonna review that because my calculator told me that. Yeah, it still tells me that it's 22. I don't know
52
what-
divided by 2 is not 22.
I didn't get 52 though. I got 44.
You subtracted 48 plus 4, it went down. You subtracted 4.
That's right.
So then when you plug that one back in, that's why you got the second one wrong. Okay, so, Devin, I need you to turn around.
Yes, ma'am.
So if you did not do these two last night, I've already done the first two with you. You better finish these two, get them to me, or that grade in itself is going to become a 0 again, if it's not already. If you did, then you're done with that one and you're good to go. You just need today's.
Yay.
So, today's, we are going to be looking in 4.6. Now, this is easy again. If you can add and subtract, you should be fine. So, we are in 4.6. And the first thing we want to talk about is we want to talk about the isosceles triangle theorem. Now, the isosceles triangle theorem. You already know what an isosceles triangle is. All it's going to do is kind of explain that a little bit more. So write this down because I'm about to give you some information about this that we're going to use to do some work today. Now your work today, as far as your homework, is not going to be on paper. It's going to be on the computer. Now, some of you who had me last year, and some of you probably last year, have done IXL before. It's on IXL tonight. Now, it should be really easy, provided you pay attention to what I'm about to tell you. If you don't pay attention, you're not going to know how to do your homework tonight, and you're going to be sitting there over and over and over and over again, putting in the wrong answers. And you're going to be sitting there because you don't know what you're doing. And that's not gonna be my fault. So, you better make sure that you're paying attention to what I'm about to tell you. Because there's no way around IXL. You can't just simply give me some kind of paper with a bunch of crap on it and expect to get a grade when it's all in IXL. Because IXL is the one that grades it, not me. And we're going to talk about IXL when I'm done. So, isosceles triangle. What does an isosceles triangle have?
Triangle with two equal sides.
It has two congruent sides. Now, what that's going to do is this is going to explain a little bit more. With the isosceles triangle theorem, what it says is that if those two sides are congruent, then the angles opposite those are also congruent. Okay? So, if two sides of a triangle, okay, so if two sides of a triangle are congruent, then the angles opposite those sides are congruent. That's what it tells me. Is if two sides of a triangle are congruent, then the angles opposite those sides are congruent. So I'll get that written down and then I'm going to show you. So I'm going to draw a triangle to the side here in a minute, and we're going to explain what this means. So as soon as everybody has this written down, I'm going to slide this over and I'm going to show you the triangle. It's just a regular isosceles triangle. Okay, is there anybody still copying this? Anybody at home still copying this? Are we all good? You're still copying or you're good, Martin? You're good? Okay. So here's our triangle. So draw this real quick. Keegan, draw. Now, just a simple little isosceles triangle. Now, as we've already said, we know in an isosceles triangle, we know that this and this are already congruent. We learned that back in Form 1. We know that an isosceles triangle has two congruent sides. Now, what this says is that if I know this and this are congruent, then the angles opposite those are also congruent. So what angles are opposite those? What is opposite of this angle right here? Sorry, this side. This one right here. And what is opposite of this side? This one down here. So, what it's telling me is if this side is congruent to this side, then this angle is congruent to this angle. That's all it's telling me. So I know now that this has the same measure as whatever this is. So if this is 7, then this is 7. If this is 30 degrees, then this is 30 degrees. Stop doing that. Because if that flies off and hits somebody, then we're going to be in trouble. And by we, I mean you. So, means the reverse. If these are congruent, then
Those are congruent.
these are congruent. So they can give it to you in the reverse order. That we call the converse converse of isosceles triangle theorem. So it's the same thing, it's just the converse. The converse just means that I'm going in the reverse order. So instead of me saying that the two sides are congruent to start with, now I can say the two angles are congruent to start with. So it works backwards. So now I can say that if two angles of a triangle are congruent, then the sides opposite those angles are congruent. So it's reverse order. So I can start with either one. I can start with the sides, or I can start with the angles, either one. Because now I know that if one of them is congruent, the other one is congruent. Okay, so if two angles of a triangle are congruent, then the sides opposite those angles are congruent. So I'm about to draw a triangle again, just to make sure that we got it. So I'm going to turn this triangle sideways. So anybody, anywhere still copy? Are we good to go? You got it? We still? You done? Okay. So this time I've got a triangle. I'm going to turn it sideways. Now what it says this time is that I know these two angles are congruent. So that's what you're given to start with, is that you know those two angles are congruent. So by this theorem that we just had, the converse, it tells me that if I know these two are congruent, then what? I know these two now are congruent. So I can work backwards. So if I give you the angles or if I give you the sides, you know the opposite is congruent. Whichever one it is. So we're going to practice some of those real quick, because that's what you're going to be doing tonight. And I'm going to show you some examples of what you're going to see. So it shouldn't be that hard when you open up iExcel to actually answer this. Now, before we do this, I want to remind you real quick about an equilateral. What do we know about an equilateral? What's equal?
All sides. The sides are equal.
Okay, an equilateral triangle. In an equilateral, that means we have, you've already said it, so say it again. Huh?
Equal sides on all sides.
We have three congruent sides, right? we got 3 congruent sides. That means every side is exactly the same. So if one side is 15, all 3 sides are 15. Now, also, if it is equilateral, it is also equiangular.
Yes.
Okay? So, if it is equilateral triangle, it is also equiangular. Now, what does equiangular mean? That means every angle is also the same. Okay? So again, that means 3 congruent angles. I'm just going to put that down here in parentheses. So an equilateral has 3 congruent sides. It also is equiangular. So equilateral, equiangular, they go hand in hand. Where you have one, you have the other. So if I told you that, you know, it was an equilateral and that the angle was 20 degrees, what does that mean the other two are? Also 20 degrees. Because it's equiangular. You've got to get this in your head. Equilateral means they are also equiangular. Where one is, you have the other. Now, what I want to do is I want to actually do some of these problems, and I'm going to mix them together. So you are going to get one maybe that's isosceles, the next one may be equilateral. I'm not going to do one, then the other, then one, then the other. They're going to be mixed together. So it may be 2 or 3 in a row, and then all of a sudden the next one pops up. Because IXL is not going to do these in any particular order. They're just going to randomly throw them out there at you. So, that's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to throw some of these at you and let you make sure you understand what you're going to be seeing. So, let's look at some of these. So, for the first one, first of all, it is not a rectangle. That would be a triangle. Now, what you do know about this triangle is that this is triangle ABC. Again, you got to learn that when you see these marks, you know what they mean. I'm not going to come around and tell you every time.
They're equal to each other.
That means they are equal, they are congruent. That means it is also isosceles. So, hush. We know that A is X, and we know that C is 71. Now, they're going to ask you to find whatever they want. So in this case, they want you to find X. Now, that should not be hard at all.
Yeah.
Because I just went over this.
X71.
How do I know that?
Because they're equal.
How do I know that?
Because it's also equal.
Because I just went through this in the isosceles triangle theorem that said what?
They're equal.
How?
Because of the thing.
It said that if these two are equal, then these two are equal.
Yeah.
So I don't have to do any work. All I have to do is know what I just told you. That if these two are equal, then these two are equal. So if this is 71, this is automatically 71.
Yeah.
I don't have to question it. I don't have to figure anything out. All I have to do is know what Miss Sullivan just told me. So if I'm sitting over here not paying one bit of attention to what Miss Sullivan is saying, I'm going to go home and I'm just going to start putting in numbers.
I am.
That is wonderful. Sit there all night and see how far it gets you. So, I know X is 71 degrees. Real simple. Not a trick question by any means. Now, when they start putting in extra numbers, which they will do, because this is not going to be the only one that sits in your triangle the whole entire time. So don't think they're only going to give you one. Sometimes they will give you two. Oh, I'm going to give you plenty. I have exactly 18 problems here.
Ow.
I don't know that we're going to go through all 18.
I don't think we should.
Depends on how much we talk and misbehave. Does that help you out there?
A little bit.
Okay, so on the second one here, I got triangle XYZ. This time I know
Oh, it's hard.
this.
That's some green.
A is equal to 60.
Now, first of all, what kind of a triangle is it? It's an equilateral. I have marked every side the exact same, so that means they are all equal. If the sides are equal, what did I tell you? Then the angles are all equal.
Yeah.
So if all three sides are equal, then all three angles are equal. So if this is 60, this is 60, which means this is also 60.
Yeah. 210.
So I know that A is 60 degrees. Again, once again, because Miss Sullivan just told me, if I ain't listening, I ain't gonna get it.
I'm not listening.
Well, that's fine, y'all just don't get it.
Don't, because I'm writing it down.
Ooh.
I can listen to
Good
it.
job.
Questions? Okay. Third one. Let's say I have this one now. So it's upside down. You have GH and F. I know that these two are congruent. I know that this is 70. I know this is 40. And I need to find X. Now, I told you that you were not going to get just one angle the entire time. This one now has two.
This is 70.
Why is it not 40?
Because it's at the top.
What about
I mean, the
How
bottom.
is it
or-
not opposite?
Because you got to pay attention to the opposites.
Yeah.
40, is 40 opposite one of those two marked sides? No.
No.
My sides are here. So if I go opposite those, then I'm looking at these two. 40 is up here all by itself. It has absolutely nothing to do with anything. So, I know that these two have to be congruent. So just because they throw in an extra number doesn't mean that it ever has to be used. Sometimes it will, sometimes it won't. So this one, all I have to know is what two angles I'm looking for. Again, I'm looking for these two, because those are opposites of my sides.
70.
So if one is 70, the other one is 70. So that's what I'm looking for.
Can you get a hard one now?
I don't think you want me to skip all the way to the hard one.
Just because you want one more.
I can skip all the way to the hard one.
Yeah.
One day you want to do work,
Challenge it, please. Yeah, you better come back with your own gun.
Please.
Right.
I ain't gonna do nothing.
That's why you trying to do it now.
I feel like having
Oh, well, my help actually did the right one. I'm redoing the first one I did.
Yeah.
Ignore that one. I was redoing the first one again.
Wait, huh?
Okay.
You don't yourself too much now. That's your son.
X is,
This is not my hard one. This is just an extra.
X is 18.
So,
Okay,
It is 18.
what was the converse that I just told you?
if one side is, I already know.
If the two angles are congruent,
And the sides.
then the sides opposite those are also congruent. So if one is 7, the other one is 7.
Can't catch me.
So my answer is 7. The 18 at the bottom has absolutely nothing to do with it. Hush. They enjoy throwing in extra numbers to confuse you.
They do.
You have got to know your rules. If you have to draw it and draw the arrows, draw the arrows. Nobody's stopping you. But the 18 is not across from either one of those two boxes. Those two angles. So, it's not going to affect anything. So 18 is just there for no reason, other than to see if somebody will pick it. And somebody will.
Is this the hard one now?
No, I'll get to it. Let me do this one and then we'll get to the hard one. Huh.
Check in.
They want you to go back to sleep.
Can I go to see that?
No, you cannot go back to sleep.
You said yourself up.
I said they want you to go back to sleep. I did.
I felt like.
Okay, so now we've got ABC.
Put my notes down.
Okay, what's our answer?
10.
10. Because again, what kind of a triangle is it? Equilateral. And we know what?
All sides are equal.
All sides are equal. So if one side is 10,
All sides.
every side is 10. So we're looking for an answer
That's 10.
of 10. So again, most of this is not doing any work other than what I've given you.
That's the hard one.
No, that's the second page.
How many problems are we getting to? How many problems?
You have to work until you reach what?
800.
80%.
Yeah.
So if you get to 79 and you get one wrong and it drops you back, you gotta keep going.
That's like that. Sometimes they give you.
So you have to keep going until you reach 80%.
They put me on 40.
You can be on 79. You get one that's wrong. You can be back to 60.
Are you ready? You ready for this?
Hey, yes, if they give me
Are we allowed to start our homework, or are we gonna continue to practice problems?
Well, I've gotta show you a couple more before we get started. Okay, let's read this one. This time you gotta find two things. You gotta find A and B.
And B. Okay, it's C. Wait.
It's 12.
Right.
Now, what do we know right now?
Well,
Well,
That C and E are congruent. We know that much, so that means A is 12.
B is 6.
How do you get 6?
I just found.
That doesn't even make any sense.
I just divided it by 2.
So A is 12 degrees. Now, B. Use what I've already taught you this week. What do we know about the inside of a triangle?
It's gotta be equal to 180.
Has to be equal to 180.
Oh, you smart.
So, if I know 12 and 12, what do I do with them? Add them and subtract from 180. And I know what B is.
180.
Not 180, no.
56.
So I know 12 plus 12 is 24. So 180 minus 24 is
156.
156. So I know B is 156. So if they ask you to find two of them, that's your job. Now it may be that they say it's an equilateral and all of them are the same. So pay attention. Are they telling you that just two of them are congruent, or are they telling you that all of them are congruent? I don't know. You're gonna have to pay attention. Okay, one more.
Then we get to go home?
No, one more, and then you can start trying to figure out how to log into iExcel because they've changed it since last year.
Yeah, so you still got my list here. Wait. Oh,
We gotta do that too?
so they need a pair. Man, that's gonna be a challenge.
We did this before.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So Brian, you wanted a hard one? Here you go, write it down.
Yeah.
That is your problem to figure out.
Right, this is
Now, you all can have this on iExcel. You might want to write it down.
Oh my God, Brian.
You killed it.
Thank you.
Hey, would you rather me go over it or you get it and have to work it 7 times in a row and still not know how to do it? And go from a 75 back down to a 60 and never get to the 80 mark? I mean, it's up to you. I'm trying to help you out here. Now, you're going to get something like this. Now, some of them are a little bit different because they'll tell you what this is, versus you having to, find it. They may have you find this instead of this,